Okay, hi, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started now. Welcome to our second set of AwarenessRx prescription drug abuse webinars. My name is Ivan Tong, and I'm in charge of the presentation team here at AwarenessRx. I first want to start off by saying thank you for sharing your time with us today to help make our community a safer place. By learning information that can be valuable to save the lives of people you love, you can help make a difference. Not to mention that if you're interested in the medical field, the information we are sharing today is crucial to your future career. We're going to be going into depth about how drugs interact with your body, the hidden dangers behind prescription medication, deadly myths that you most likely aren't aware of, and the specific ways you can help us combat this epidemic by protecting the people that you love. So I promise you that the information we are going to be sharing will not be a waste of your time. 3 years ago, an officer came to my aunt's house and told her that they found my cousin in a ditch, unconscious from drug overdose. For weeks, he was in a coma, and to be honest, we didn't know if he'd make it. It really tore our family apart. Fortunately, we got lucky and he's still alive today, but it was still a horrible experience to go through. What I realized from this is that when someone overdoses or even dies, he or she is not the only victim. Heartbroken family members, relatives, and close friends are also victims of the prescription drug abuse epidemic as well. To prevent other families from experiencing what mine went through, I did weeks of research about this issue and was shocked by how widely misunderstood prescription medications are. There are so many misconceptions to the point where tens of thousands of lives are being lost each year. And with each of those lives comes a family that may never recover. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so just a few quick notes for everyone here. First of all, you cannot receive credit if you attended the webinar last month for SNHS or HOSA because the information is the same and it wouldn't be fair to give you credit twice for the same thing. Don't worry, not all of our webinars will be the same. We're currently working on bringing you guys a new webinar about the science behind addiction, but it probably won't be ready until around April, so be aware of that. We will be checking to make sure that this is your first time attending an AwarenessRx webinar, so if you are a repeat audience member, go ahead and exit the meeting now. Next, if you signed up for multiple clubs, you can only select one to earn credit for, which will be done with our Google form at the end of the session. And finally, you must participate in order to be counted for attendance. Throughout the presentation, we'll be asking questions or playing games, and you must be actively engaged or else we can't give you the points or hours that you're looking for. There'll also be a short fun Kahoot at the end for everybody to play, and the winners of this and our other games will earn extra credits, so make sure that you're paying attention. Once again, we will be checking to make sure you are participating to give your credits. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like that guy, who's super strict, but the information is very important, so I want to make sure that you get the best experience from this event as possible. Okay, moving on. Just to gauge our audience a little bit, we want to know how dangerous prescription medications are. On a scale of 1 to 10, how dangerous do you think prescription medications can be? 1 being very safe and 10 being extremely dangerous. Please give your honest opinion because we want to see if we can maybe change your perspective by the time the presentation ends. So go to menti.com, put the code in 4379 4320, and I'll put it in the chat right here. 4379 4320. And that way we can just test to see what your thoughts are. And then, okay. So I guess a few minutes to do that. Once again, do not send me your answer to the chat. Go to menti.com and try to answer it from there. Wow, these answers are actually pretty high. Okay, I'll go share my screen real quick to show you guys what I'm looking at. So right here, hopefully you guys can see it, right? So we have, I think like one person said 1, but then there's also, most of you guys are around the 5 to 10 range. And so hopefully maybe you can shift it more towards the 9s and 10s by the time the presentation ends. But thank you guys for submitting all your responses. Okay. Let me switch back to this other screen. Okay. Okay. So one quick reminder before we begin, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or send them through the chat. It could either be to everybody or directly to me. And so now Daniel is going to introduce us to this issue. Daniel?
All right, thank you, Ivan. Good afternoon, everyone. So we've all heard of the different programs such as Say No to Drugs, or perhaps you've taken a health course about the dangers of drugs. All of these drug programs are good because they're spreading awareness to our younger generations. However, they're missing one crucial aspect. Almost none of them talk about the dangers of prescription drug abuse, which is fueling this epidemic, costing tens of thousands of lives. Before we start, I need to make one thing clear. Prescription drugs have done wonders for our world and changed countless lives. AwarenessRx is not against prescription drugs at all, but rather the negative outcome associated with their abuse. Because of the advancement in medicine, we are now able to live longer, healthier lives. Fatal diseases are now being prevented and cured. Symptoms and pain are being reduced. I want to ask you guys, how many prescription drugs do you guys think are dispensed each year? Leave your answers in the chat.
If you guys didn't get the question, they're just asking you to put it in the chat how many prescription drugs you think are dispensed.
Okay, so I see some of you guys put around 1 million or 2, but in fact, the statistic says that over 4 billion prescription drugs are dispensed each year, and that just shows how popular and important prescription drugs have become to us. And as you can see from this chart provided by the World Health Organization and the World Bank, the life expectancy has more than doubled in just the last century. Medical advancements such as prescription drugs are a crucial factor seen in the trend above. Thus, we can make the safe assumption that we live in a drug-taking society. We live in a generation where using medication is deeply integrated into our daily lives. However, all medication also has the potential to cause harm. Here's some analogies for you. Look at the example here. When cars became a more convenient form of travel, more and more people began dying and getting critically injured from car accidents. Furthermore, the discovery of oil created a multitude of new opportunities for businesses and daily lives, so that society is dependent on it for our basic necessities. As a result, pollution is worse than ever before. So just like how the invention of car led to car accidents and the use of oil led to pollution, the increasing popularity of prescription drugs for medical purposes has also led to an unprecedented amount of prescription drug-related overdoses. A major reason for this abuse comes from people trying to get high, but there's other reasons too, like trying to self-medicate or self-improve or improve studying. So, what do you guys think is the leading cause of accidental death? Car accidents or drug abuse? Put your guesses in the chat. Okay, good. I'm seeing that majority of the audience is aware of the dangers of prescription drugs, but sadly, that's not the case for everyone. In fact, when we interviewed many teachers at Elkins, all of them said car accidents. However, we all know that simply isn't the case. In addition, the statistic on the right says that more than 6 million Americans aged 12 and older have used prescription drugs non-medically in the past month. And as you can see here, prescription drug abuse isn't simply limited to high schoolers and adults. People can start abusing as early as 7th grade. Now, let me introduce you to one of my good friend, Ayush, who's going to be talking about over-the-counter prescription drugs and opioids.
Thank you, Daniel. One key difference we'd like to point out is between over-the-counter medication and prescription medication. It's important to know because it'll help us understand why prescription drugs specifically can be so dangerous. Well, what is the most important difference between the two? The answer is that you can buy OTC medication whenever you want to, but prescription drugs require a prescription from a doctor. Starting out with OTC drugs, you can see that they have a low risk and broader effect, meaning that they will have similar effects over a wide range of people. Let's just say that both Ivan and I have stomach aches, and we both take the same OTC medication designed to treat and ease stomach pains. Chances are both of us will feel a little bit better. However, switch this OTC medication with prescription drugs and things start to get complicated. Instead of both of us feeling better, Ivan could get better, but I may end up in the hospital. This is because prescription drugs are specific to a smaller group of people. When doctors prescribe their patients medication, they have to take into account a variety of factors such as age, metabolism, gender, etc. Don't share medication with others even if you think it could help them. When you get that prescription, the doctor prescribed it to you and only you. On the next slide, we'll look into what actually constitutes as prescription drug abuse. As our sources define it, prescription drug abuse can be nicely defined into three categories: taking someone else's prescription medication, taking a prescription medication in ways other than prescribed, and taking a medication for reasons other than prescribed. There's actually a mnemonic device you can use to remember this: more, not for, and just for. So it's abuse if you take more than prescribed, if the medicine is not for you, or if you take it for just poor reasons, like if you're trying to take it to get high. Now, some of you may be surprised that I define all of these as abuse because in some of them, the patient may be trying to treat an illness. For example, I could be on a painkiller, but as I continue to take them, there will be less of an effect, so I take more to produce the same effect. And so the intent in some of these cases are good. Some people would argue that if the intent is good, medical reasons for your well-being, it would be misuse, while if the intent is bad, like to get high, it would fall under abuse. So yes, there is somewhat of a spectrum. However, we would argue that misuse still counts as abuse, since in both situations, the prescription drug was taken in a way not intended by a medical professional. Therefore, the severe consequences will emerge for both misuse and abuse. What consequences, you may ask? Here at AwarenessRx, we're going to emphasize the 4-4-4 rule: 4 consequences, 4 myths, and 4 methods of prevention. The first 4 we'd like to talk about are the 4 consequences. There are the obvious health consequences when the body physiologically responds to the substance, such as heart failures, seizures, comas, and death. Then there are the social consequences. Your interactions with friends and family will be disrupted by abusing drugs, since they can flip your personality. There was actually a story about, of all people, a pharmacist who started abusing drugs and went from an outgoing, cheerful, active member of the medical community to a pale, inactive drug addict. As much as we want to say, this can never happen to me or I'll never be like that, this epidemic doesn't spare anyone. There are also work and school consequences in which, from a professional standpoint, you need to take into account how it will affect your career or academic performance. There are also people who abuse ADHD-type medications to try and improve their work. Keyword, abusing. If it's not abuse or misuse, then it's not a problem. But abusing drugs to try and improve your grades is not the way to go. First of all, it's extremely dangerous. And second of all, there are studies that show that there is no correlation between abusing drugs and higher grades. So what's the point? Finally, it is actually a felony to take prescription drugs that aren't prescribed to you. Imagine serving jail time, thinking, how did I get here? That's a situation that no one here wants to be in.
Okay, so here's a pop game to maybe earn some extra credits while you're here. So keep in mind that because this is for extra hours or points, the questions will be pretty hard. So I hope you guys have been paying attention. But it's okay because we're all here to learn. So if you would like a shot to try to answer a question, put a smiley face in the chat, and it's first come, first serve. Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask Jevin or Javine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I mess up your name. So you can either type in the chat or preferably you could unmute yourself. Okay, so my first question is name one of the types of potential consequences. And I'll be typing the question here so you guys can see it. Name one of the types of potential consequences. Just one of the categories. If you don't know it, it's okay.
Dust. Dust.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Which is music.
I'll type it.
Okay. Death. What category would that fall under? It's just one of the types of consequences. That's okay. Give it your best shot. These questions are going to be kind of hard.
I have no idea.
Okay. The answer is, so I'll go back to the previous slide real quick. It would fall under the health consequences. Okay. But nice try though. Nice try. Okay. I'm gonna pick Diana. Okay. Name one of the 3 categories of abusing prescription drugs. So I'll give you guys a hint for this one. It would be the pneumatic device that we had. More, not for, just for. So name one of the types of potential consequences. Okay, I'll wait like around 10 more seconds. It's okay if you don't know it, just say you don't know it, and then we'll go over it. Okay, I'll give that question to somebody else. David, you know that you want to take a shot at on that one? One of the 3 categories of abusing prescription drugs. You know, maybe I should just make this a free-for-all, and whoever gets it right. You know, yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Nice, taking somebody else's prescription medication. That is correct. So I'm gonna put your name here, and I'll screenshot it so that I'll make sure to get you the appropriate points. So yes, taking somebody else's prescription medication. That is correct. There are 3 categories. One was taking somebody else's prescription medication, taking medication in ways other than prescribed, or for different reasons than prescribed. All right, let's just do one more, and then we'll move on. Let's see. Okay, this is an easier type, so make sure that you're ready to answer because only one person gets it, and it's first come, first serve. Whoever gets it first, we get the credit. Okay, so this is an example. I told my friend that I had a headache, so he gave me some of his extra over-the-counter Advil. Is this a good idea or a bad idea? Okay, oh my God, you guys went really fast. Okay. Sean, you get the points. It is a good idea, and I'll go over that in a little bit. Sean, okay. And let me screenshot this real quick. Names. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so the reason why you guys, well, okay, I can understand why you guys think it would be a bad idea, but the key word is over the counter. If it was prescription medication, that would be a very, very bad idea. But it's over-the-counter Advil. And so as Ayush said before, it has a general effect. It's for a wide range of people. And there's not really, like, you could still abuse them, but it's a lot harder to, and it's not as specific. So I think it's a good idea because it's just Advil. It's just over-the-counter Advil. It's not like prescription hydrocodone or something like that. And so that would actually be a good idea for him to give me his extra Advil to help with my headache. Okay, so good job. And we'll go ahead and continue. Ayush?
Okay, let's briefly discuss the infamous opioid epidemic. As you've probably seen throughout the media, the opioid epidemic has caused havoc in the US in the last few years. Opioids are basically painkillers, and as we know, painkillers are known to be very addictive. In fact, here are just a few statistics about the opioid epidemic. So over 130 plus people died of opioid-related drug overdoses each day. If you do some quick math, you would find out that every 11 minutes, someone dies to an overdose. That means that by the time we finish our presentation, 2 to 3 people have already lost their lives. So we're not going to go over all of these statistics, but I'll leave them up here for a bit so you can process how large these numbers are. And just as you guys look at the statistics, which statistic shocked you guys the most? Like, feel free to type your answer in the chat. So just to repeat the question, like which statistic shocked you guys the most? Okay. Yeah, so I'm seeing like 11.4 million people misused prescription opioids, 2.1 million people had an opioid disorder. Yeah, I mean, these statistics are really shocking. Like the first time I saw them, I was pretty shocked. All right, now I'll hand it over to Mandy, who's going to talk about why learning this issue is important.
Thanks, Ayush. So our organization believes prevention is a key solution to help combat this epidemic. But why prevention instead of something like direct rehabilitation? It's because of this statistic right here. 90% of all prescription drug addicts start in their teenage years, and that means we can prevent up to 90% of all overdoses, saving tens and thousands of lives. And now is the time to act when people like us are most vulnerable. Of course, we know that we're a small organization that operates locally, but imagine being able to save up to 90% of all the teenagers you know, including your friends, your siblings, your relatives, your classmates, and much more. And that itself can still save lives and prevent people you care about from taking one fatal step in the wrong direction. So now that you know how prescription drugs can affect us, we'll get into the 4 deadly myths. Many of us have probably fallen into these traps, so let's debunk them right away. The first myth is, if everyone else is doing it, why shouldn't I? This is more towards our teenage audience, you guys. But before we start, let me ask you one thing. Do you think a majority of teens misuse or abuse prescription drugs? Just type your answer in chat and we'll discuss it. Okay, so I'm seeing that it's pretty split. I'm seeing a lot of yeses, and this may come from like thinking of like juuling or stuff like that. However, this is in fact not true. Only 1 out of 7 teens abuse drugs. Now, this is clearly not the majority, but 1 out of every 7 teenagers out of the 42 million teenagers in the US is still a huge number. So don't fall for peer pressure and think that it's okay to abuse prescription drugs since your friends are doing it. The next myth we have here is that prescription drugs must be safer than illicit drugs. I mean, in our heads, this is common sense, right? Medication is designed to help you, while illicit drugs can only harm you, so medicine must be safer. But this is simply wrong. Let's look at a few illicit drugs that you may have heard of. First, we have heroin, which is only used to get high, and it's usually injected, but it can also be smoked, and it doesn't really serve any medical purpose. Next, we have cocaine, and it is also highly addictive. You can snort it, smoke it, and inject it, and like heroin, it is also only used to get high. And the third illicit drug we are using as an example is Rehypnol, which is not as popular as the other two, but is still as equally as dangerous. Rehypnol is especially dangerous because it can be slipped into an alcoholic drink and affect the user's consciousness. And we're not going to go into full detail, but we can see where this can be a problem at social events like clubs and parties when a guy can discreetly put one in a girl's beverage, and we know where things can go from there. So looking back at these substances, what makes them so special? Why and how do they cause such dangerous effects? A phrase we use often is, it's on the science. They're scientifically designed to act the way they do. So now we have a list of 3 different prescription drugs. There's Oxycodone, Ritalin, Valium, Ritalin and Valium. Surprising or not, each of these prescription medications respectively correspond to the illicit drugs seen earlier. For time purposes, we're only going to look into the first one. So on the left, we have the chemical structure of heroin, and on the right, we have the chemical structure of oxycodone. And it doesn't take a PhD in chemistry to see that they look very similar. And as a result of their similar structures, this means they share many characteristics. And despite one being illicit and the other being prescription, they're both opioids and target the opioid receptor in the brain that can both lead to a euphoric high. So now here are some of the effects of heroin and oxycodone. There's drowsiness, constipation, confusion, sedation, slowed breathing, coma, and even death. So after seeing this, can you really say that prescription drugs are safer than illicit drugs? Of course not. Whether it's illicit or prescription, not taken seriously, drugs can cause severe damage to our bodies. And now I'll be passing it on to Ayush to discuss the last 2 myths.
The next myth is that it's only a problem if I'm trying to get high. As we said before, many people abuse ADHD-type drugs to try and improve their grades or focus better. But, as Mandy mentioned about chemical structures, it can still hurt the body. Once again, as we've always said, it's all in the science. These types of drugs release neurotransmitters which send signals to our brain. ADHD medication releases dopamine, which you've probably already heard of, and also releases norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, and histamine. You can see why many people abuse them. Norepinephrine increases attention, memory, and alertness, while epinephrine relieves stress and affects long-term memory. Clearly, it comes to no surprise that 30% of students at the University of Kentucky admit that they used ADHD-type medication as a possible study enhancer. However, look at all of those side effects in the figure on the right. Psychosis, seizures, kidney disease, muscle weakness. All these consequences are really scary, so you shouldn't take the risk. By the way, if you don't know what psychosis is, it's basically not being able to distinguish between what's in your head and what's reality. Finally, prescription drugs can't be addictive. To answer that, we should look back at this slide. All of these neurotransmitters giving you that feeling of happiness and relaxation. Dopamine, reward, attention, and motivation. Serotonin, well-being and happiness. Histamine, decreased stress. So because of these, prescription drugs can definitely be very addictive.
Okay, so this is a part 2 of the same thing before. Once again, actually, I'm going to change it up just a little bit. If you want to answer first, if you want to volunteer, then in the chat, type your favorite food or drink. I would personally put boba tea, but it's up to you. And once again, first come, first serve, and I'll ask you the question. I'll give you priority. If there are enough people, then I'll just make it a free-for-all, and then whoever answers it first wins. Okay. So let's see, who was the first one? Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to mess up your name, but you put chicken, and so I'm gonna go ahead and ask you the question. Okay, so first question is, name one of our 4 myths. Unmute your mic or go ahead and type it. Oh, wait, let me put the question. Name one of our 4 myths. I'll put that question in the chat so you can have reference to it. Let me just play some chill music. Okay. So I'll give you 15 seconds. And if not, then then somebody else will be able to take it. So any one of the 4 myths that Ayush or Mandy went over. Prescription drugs can't be addictive. That's nice. That's a good answer. So yes, prescription drugs for sure can be addictive, and that is a huge myth. So let me put your name here. Also, do you mind telling me how to say your name? Because I feel bad for not being able to pronounce it.
It's Michaela.
Okay, I was about to say something stupid, so that's why I'm glad I stopped myself. I was gonna like have the C pronounced as like an S. Okay, but thank you, Michaela, and I'll make sure you guys get your points. Oh, oops, I put an extra S. Michaela Ross. Okay, there we go. Okay, next one we'll go to next question. Sorry, I have to go up to the chat and see. Okay, it will go to Patrick. Okay, so Patrick, why do you think it's important to debunk these myths? Now, it's a very simple question. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but why do you think it's important to debunk these myths? Okay.
I'm too lazy to type, so I'm just gonna say I think it's important to debunk these myths so that way the youth can be able to understand the true implications and consequences of doing these drugs and not fall for some of the popular ideas.
Okay. Yeah, that was correct. You cut off a little bit, but I didn't understand the gist of what you were saying. So you're basically saying that it's important to understand these consequences.
Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi is really bad.
That's okay. I'll make sure to write your name here. All right, let's do a few more. Thank you for answering. Okay. Gosh, I wish this chat function was better. Okay, wow. Oh wait, sorry, David, you already went, but I appreciate your answer of water as your favorite food or drink. Okay, Virginia, you put coffee, and let me ask you this next question. Okay, that was a little too easy. Okay. Oxycodone has a very similar chemical structure to which illicit drug?
I think it was heroin.
Okay, that is correct. It was heroin. Nice one. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Virginia. Okay. And then let's just do a few more. So, oh my god, I don't want to mess up this name. Is it Ilian? Ilian Merchant put pizza?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let me ask a question. Do you remember what psychosis is?
Oh no, I don't. Sorry.
It's okay. What about Muhammad? You also put pizza as well. Do you remember what psychosis is? Okay. All right. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna put it up for grabs if anybody remembers what it is. Oh, okay, no, you got it. Okay, never mind. Muhammad got it. Okay. So not being able to differentiate what's between life and your mind. So basically not being able to distinguish between reality and what's going on in your head. And that when I just think of that, I feel like that's, pretty scary. So that's just one example of the different symptoms behind abusing prescription medication, or one of the consequences. Okay. And I think that's enough for now. Well, that was not online at all. Whatever. Okay, so I took a screenshot here. Okay, and then let's move on. Okay, Ayush, go ahead.
You can finally relax now because this is where all the bad news ends. It's time to get optimistic and learn about how we can protect our loved ones. This is our last rule in our 444 rule, the 4 methods of prevention. The first method is to be medication smart, which basically means to follow the doctor's instructions exactly, and if you have any questions, you should ask your doctor. While many people turn to the internet as a source of information because of its convenience, when it comes to prescription drugs, we must advise against this because it may not provide the most accurate and safest options. As dangerous as prescription drugs can be, there is no need to worry as long as you follow instructions. If it says take 2 a day, take 2 a day. It's that easy. Also, do not share your medication with other people, even if they're your family. This is more directed to your parents, but I'll go over it anyways. You're probably wondering where these people, specifically teenagers, are getting their medication from. You'd be surprised that they don't even have access to leave the comfort of their home. 55% of teenage drug addicts say they get their drugs from their own home. In other words, the most common drug dealers nowadays aren't criminals, they're us. The solution to this issue is to lock up your medication. Think about it. You wouldn't have a gun lying around while children or teenagers could easily get their hands on it. So why would you leave drugs out in the open when prescription drugs kill far more people than gun accidents do? In 2016, around 150 child gun accidents occurred that cost the child's life. And while that certainly is not a good thing, compare that to the 42,000 people who died due to prescription drugs in the same year. It's better to be safe than sorry, so tell your parents to lock up your medication. Next in our methods of prevention is to dispose of unused medication. You can't abuse medication if you don't have it. Now, this is really easy to do. All you need to do is search up nearest drug disposal place near me and drop off your medication there. Whatever you do, don't throw it away or flush it down the toilet. If you flush it down, it could contaminate the water supply and cause others to get really sick. Many Walgreens and other pharmacies like CVS do drop-offs, but not at all. Finally, share the facts with your friends or family. There are only a limited number of people who attended this informational meeting, but if each of you could spread the word together, we could save even more lives. Thank you. Now back to my good friend Ivan.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, once again, thank you for being here today. We can really make a difference and help our community we can make a difference and help our community one audience at a time. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and get into the Kahoot. Oh, wait, let me explain this slide real quick. Yeah, so please check out our website, AwarenessRx.org, and you can also read our different blog posts and stay up to date with the current situations. You can also send this link to your friends if it could be helpful to them, and you can also find the information that we talked about in the Learn section up here. Okay, so now we're going to get into the Kahoot. And so a confusion we had during our last set of webinars is that the winner, there's only going to be one winner who gets points. It's not going to be the top 3, it's only one. So I just want to clear that up before we start. And so let me set this up real quick. I'll send the code in a bit. Okay. Okay, and you guys should be able to see my screen now. Actually, wait, hold up.
Prescription drug abuse is a major health epidemic in the U.S.
Let me change this real quick. Let me stop sharing. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, there we go.
To 16,000 since 1999.
And
now outnumber
okay,
those
so yeah, make sure you guys join this game.
combined.
Now I'm going to take a screenshot of whoever's here to make sure you guys are participating.
So has the need for treatment. But only 1 in 10 Americans with a substance abuse disorder receives treatment. Drug overdose deaths, the majority of which are related to prescription drugs, are now the #1 cause of injury death in the U.S., surpassing car accidents. Learn how your state is preventing misuse. Prescription drug abuse is a major health epidemic in the U.S. Some 50 Americans die each day from prescription painkiller overdoses. Overdose deaths involving prescription painkillers have quadrupled to 16,000 since 1999, and now outnumber those from heroin and cocaine combined. As prescription drug abuse has increased, so has the need for treatment. But only 1 in 10 Americans with a substance abuse disorder receives treatment. Drug overdose deaths, the majority of which are related to prescription drugs, are now the #1 cause of injury death in the U.S., surpassing car accidents. Learn how your state is preventing misuse.
Okay, I'll give you guys just a few more minutes. Actually, no, I'm sorry, a few more seconds. And if your name is not here by that time, then you'll have to either message me or something. Right. Why is the number going down? Okay, I'm gonna go and start now, and hopefully you guys
Prescription
can
drug abuse is a
join
major
while you're
health
doing it.
epidemic in the U.S. Some 50 Americans die each day from prescription painkiller overdoses.
Okay, let's go
Overdose
get
deaths
started.
involving prescription painkillers have quadrupled to 16,000 since 1999.
Okay, let's go get started. Remember, the winner will receive an extra hour or points depending on which organization you're here for. So, first question, true or false? Prescription drugs in general are good. Okay. Yep, so the answer is true. Prescription drugs in general are good. The only thing that is that we're advocating against is their abuse, and that is when prescription drugs become bad. But otherwise, prescription drugs in general have done wonders for our society. Okay, nice. Hopefully you can keep that lead. Okay, next, how many prescription drugs are filled out each year? So the answer is over 4 billion prescriptions, and that is a huge, huge number. It's not 4 million and 40 billion. Okay, that's just too much. But 4 million, that's a lot. That's a lot of pills. But 4 billion is actually the correct statistic. Okay. Question 3. Oh, this is multi-select, so make sure you select 2 answers. So why is this statistic important? The one that we mentioned before. Remember, take your time. You still have 20 seconds left. Okay, so yes, it is the red and blue answer choice. It shows that prescription drugs are easier to access than illicit drugs because of how easy it is to get your hands on them. It also shows how important prescription drugs have become to our society. And so this statistic did not show the number of people who died each year. And it also didn't show why prescription drugs in general are really bad, because they're actually really good, as you said before. Okay. Question 4, what is the most common type of prescription drug that people abuse? So the answer is painkillers or pain relievers. So when Ayush was talking about opioids, opioids are a type of painkiller. And so those tend to be the most addictive. Okay, next, true or false, car accidents are the leading cause of accidental death in America. Okay, the answer is false. Drug abuse or drug overdoses are the leading cause of accidental death in America. Okay, which of the following is not a case of prescription drug abuse? Right, so the answer is blue, taking prescription medication as prescribed by your doctor or pharmacist. That is not a case of abuse because that's what you're supposed to do. You're always supposed to follow your doctor's instructions. Everything else is a case of abuse. These are the 3 categories: taking someone else's prescription medication, taking your prescription medication in ways other than prescribed, and taking medication for reasons other than prescribed. Okay. Oh no. Oh man, lost their place. Okay, Humsini is now first. Okay, question 7, true or false? Abusing prescription medication has been shown to increase your grades. Okay. So yeah, everybody got it right. Abusing prescription drugs have been shown to have not been shown to increase your grades. There's actually no correlation between them. So don't abuse it. It's not worth the risk and it's extremely dangerous. Okay. What percent of prescription drug addicts started when they were a teenager? Oh, wow. Okay. So the answer is actually 90%. And that's 9 out of every 10 drug addicts started when they were a teenager. And so that shows that, it's important to be educated about this topic now so that we don't end up making a big mistake in the future. And so, yeah, 90%, that's a huge, huge statistic. Okay, Holly. All right, true or false, 6 out of 7 teenagers abuse prescription medication. Okay, and the answer is false. Okay, it's a little tricky. 6 out of 7 teenagers do not abuse prescription medication. And so that was a part of our debunking our first myth, that most teenagers abuse prescription medication, but actually a majority of teenagers do not abuse prescription medication. Okay, why did I say that so weirdly? Prescription medication. Okay. Question 10. This is also multi-select. What makes abusing prescription drugs just as dangerous as abusing illegal drugs? Select 2 answers. Okay, so the answer is circle and square. It's not triangle. Prescription drugs are harder to find than illicit drugs. We actually said before that it is actually easier for prescription drugs because of how widely available they are. So they do produce very similar side effects, and that's because they have very similar chemical structures. And then prescription drugs are cheaper than illegal drugs. If you guys were at the pharmacist movie night, you would actually know that one pill actually sold for $80. So that is very expensive. So that does not mean that prescription drugs are actually cheaper than illegal drugs. Okay, question 11. Why do prescription drugs kill more people than illegal illicit drugs? Okay, sorry for the trap answer, but yes, the answer is all of the above. Prescription drugs are widely misunderstood, and so that's why we're trying to learn about them now. Prescription drugs are easier to gain access to. Yes, we went over that before. And many prescription drugs are highly addictive. That was also one of our myths. Prescription drugs can be very addictive. 12. Dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and histamine are all examples of what? Okay, yes, the answer is neurotransmitters. Drugs are actually the things that release or that produce neurotransmitters. Neurons are just the cells in our body that help, relay stuff, and then drugs attach to receptors. But all of these are examples of neurotransmitters. RIP. Also, he's back in the league. All right, question 13, also multi-select. What are some ways to protect you and your loved ones from abusing prescription medication? Okay, so the answer is dispose of unused medication and lock up your medication. So yes, if you dispose of it, then there are less drugs that are available to be abused, and also lock them up so that only a select few have access to it. And so do not flush them down the toilet because that can contaminate the water supply, and do not give it away to your relatives or friends, because remember, prescription drugs are specific to only you. So by giving that to them, they would actually be abusing that drug. Even if you're trying to help them, that would still count as abuse, and you would hate for their overdose because you gave it to them. So do not give away to other people. Okay, nice one. Okay, question 4. How do you dispose of unused medication? Yes, drop it off at a pharmacy that accepts drug drop-offs. That's one of the ways. Do not crush it before throwing it into the trash. Do not pour it down the drain or flush it down the toilet, like I said before, and do not throw it away. And so if you look here, it says that if you improperly dispose of this, it could cause water pollution, accidental ingestion, substance abuse, or illegal distribution. So just imagine if you were just drinking water and there were drugs in that water, and you'd be abusing drugs because you just wanted to drink water. So make sure you guys dispose of it properly. Okay, last question. Where can you access the information we discussed today and learn more about other related topics? Okay, so the answer is awarenessrx.org, not awarenessrx.com, awarenessrx.weebly, or awarenessrx.elkins.club, or whatever the heck that is. It's awarenessrx.org. Simple as that. Okay, so let's see who won. Okay, nice one, Jasmine. Elsini. And first place. Nice, Rihanna. Okay, let me screenshot. So Rihanna, you will get extra credit, extra point. Okay, and nice job. Wow, 61%. Okay, so let's continue this presentation and wrap things up. Share back to this right here. Okay, hope you guys see it, and let's move on. So yes, the conclusion question. So this is the same code as before, and we want to see if you maybe think of prescription drugs differently, and hopefully you guys think that they're a little more dangerous. Because they can, and if not used properly, they will take your life. Okay. Oh, what the? Sorry, that's the wrong code. Let me put the code in the chat, the correct code. Okay, hold up. Let me switch this. Okay, it appears that I messed up something in the beginning, but it still should work. So the code is 4379 and 4320. Wait, oops. All right, there we go. So that's the code. Please go to Menti and put your answer there. It does say introduction question. I apologize for that because I accidentally did the introduction, the conclusion question first. So now it's introduction question, but it's fine. It's the same thing, same question. Okay, and let's just play some music while we're at it. All right, still waiting for a few more responses. You guys couldn't tell this is Zelda music. I thought it was nice. Okay. So you guys should be able to see it. So wow, you guys were definitely leaning more towards the 7, 8, 9s, and 10s. So 9s is concentrated 9 and 10, and that's a good sign. So remember, view prescription medication with caution. Even if they are good for you, make sure that you do handle them properly. Okay, let me switch back one last time, and let's finalize this presentation. Okay, Q&A. If you guys have any questions, because there's a lot of information here, if you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and type them through the chat. If not, we'll just finish things up. Okay, wow, we ended almost exactly at 5. Okay, so let's go ahead and just skip this part then. Nobody has any questions. So thank you guys for coming here today. This concludes our presentation. And so I hope you guys learned something new, and please let us know how we did using the link. And so I'm going to be sending the link through the chat right now. And make sure you guys fill this out, because this is how we're going to be documenting your attendance, which organization you're going to be here for. So it's very important that you fill this out, because if you don't fill this out, then we won't be able to give you any credit, and I don't want to have wasted your time. But one last note, sorry for that. Okay, one last note, if you're interested in joining our team to fight the prescription drug abuse epidemic, we are now opening spots for new members. If you're not comfortable speaking on our presentation team, don't worry, we have 4 other teams to accommodate your specific skills and interests. We have a social media team, community team, research team, and maybe even a video team in the future. That's something we're looking forward to. So not only will you help us fight this issue, but you'll also build up essential communication skills that are important to all professions, meet new people while you work with them in your specific team, and overall just have a great time. We're all really chill, and none of our activities are like super stressful. It'd also be more fun if you invite your friends too. So if you're interested in joining our team, I'll send the interest form through the chat right now. Anyways, you guys are free to go. Make sure you guys fill this attendance form and interest form if you're interested in joining AwarenessRx. Okay, let me get the interest form here. 1 second. Okay. So if you're interested in joining us, go ahead and fill out this form, right? The second form. Okay, and other than that, you guys are free to go. You guys can stay if you have any questions, but other than that, have a good weekend.
Thanks everyone for coming, guys.
Oh,
now listen closely. Here's a little lesson in trickery. This is going down.
I'm sorry, I like this song.